Lillian de Waters in the Finnish Kingdom, 1925. Chapter 6. Illumination. Illumination is a state of lighted consciousness, a consciousness that is lighted from within, from above. Intuition, inspiration, high recognition belong to the realm of the real, and they spring from illumined consciousness. Divine wisdom does not arrive through reason of the mind, but through the spiritual quickening. Quote, "When the Spirit of truth is come, he will guide you into all truth." John 16:13. Reason, rightly used, is a gift of God. It is of great assistance in explaining and communicating truth and may serve as a necessary step toward realization. Reason without divine illumination takes one on a toilsome journey, hard and compelling. Should one make himself a servant to reason, the road becomes toilsome, dangerous. Without the inner zeal of soul, transcending and illumining the reasoning faculty, the thought is without quickening, and the tongue is without fire. It is inspiration that hears the voice, feels the touch, sees the light. Quote, "The inspiration of the Almighty giveth them understanding." Job 32:8. Let reason be founded on divine inspiration. Then reason guides to high recognition. Intuition and inspiration bring out the hidden treasures of the soul self, disclosing the mysteries of the heavenly kingdom. Soul illumination brings starry light to the eyes, radiance to the countenance, and as one delivers the message of truth in this lighted state, his spoken words start a burning response in the hearts of his listeners. Quote, "The children of Israel could not steadfastly behold the face of Moses for the glory of his countenance. A man's wisdom maketh his face to shine. And Jesus bringeth them up into an high mountain apart, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as light." The absolute must be spiritually discerned. Instead of reasoning about truth, we now recognize truth. Not only do we find freedom for ourselves in so doing, but we give this same freedom to others. We issue no laws or require subservience to any rules. We acknowledge no authority but the universal executive. We feel free to read, think, act, speak as the Spirit within us directs. In this illumination and freedom, we find new law transcending that which says, "Thou shalt," and "Thou shalt not." Jesus Christ was the representative of the plane of the Absolute, the illumined kingdom. He said, "Love is the fulfilling of the law." The heavenly law is love, which knows no thine and mine, no good and evil, no right and wrong, no cause and effect, no sin and punishment, but is above all pairs of opposites, seeing with its own light and glory. Quote, perfect love casts out fear. Love of the perfect, the absolute, the real and true. Love of the finished kingdom illumines the heart with that light, quote, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world, and is our armor of light. Intuition, inspiration, faith, praise, command belong to the plane of the absolute, the plane of illumined consciousness. Many dwelling in the mental plane to a large extent, at times unknowingly function on this supramental plane. Though mind is fastened to mental things, mental thoughts, mental laws, still its gaze is unconsciously often lifted up to the realm where reality is. The same applies to books which may be based upon right thinking, yet also breathe the spirit. Experience of spiritual uplift comes not through a process of philosophical reasoning, but springs from an awakened consciousness. One cannot attain high recognition through the avenue of reason alone. Some have obscured previous attainments and illuminations by descending and remaining in the plane of unillumined mental reasoning. It is a state of mind that may be called intoxicating for those who are satisfied to remain herein. Let us view some definitions as given us by Webster, that we may have an accurate conception of the accepted meaning of certain words. Reason, judgment, to think logically, the process of the mind by which propositions, old or new, are reached. Conviction, a doctrine or proposition which one firmly believes, a state of being satisfied with the mind's evidence. Absolute, complete, whole, perfect, the unconditioned, self-existent being. Vision, a divine faculty, immediate consciousness of the real. Faith, recognition of spiritual realities. Mystical, betokening a hidden meaning. Quote, God has revealed a way mystical and supernatural. Nature of reality or the divine essence. The way of direct divine illumination by which one attains immediate consciousness of God. Intuition, a looking upon, immediate perception of truth without conscious reasoning. Mystical vision, immediate knowledge of spiritual things. Love, the sublimest and holiest of spiritual affection, as God is love. Spiritual realization springs from high recognition of universal truth and is a feeling or an experience of uplift and certainty. Mental conviction is a state of the individual mentality. This is also a feeling of certainty, but it has been reached through a process of logical reasoning and not through intuition. Realization is a culmination reached through intuition, while mental conviction is a culmination reached through thought and reason. If mental conviction leads one to high recognition and realization, it is serving a good purpose and is a blessing to the individual. Reason uses the process of analysis, while intuition is a state of illumined consciousness. Intuition is a state of knowing and feeling springing from the soul self. Intuition is not founded upon reason. It can give no reason. It knows, feels, and is satisfied. Reason can always account for itself, can always find a law upon which to hinge in itself, or a law that hinges upon it. Intuition needs no such support. Reason searches, while divine intuition knows. The Christ self does not reason. The Christ self knows. Reason oftentimes closes the door to illumination, for reason questions, argues, discusses. Intuition is the still, small voice, arriving at truth without the process of labored thought or reason. Intuition belongs to the high plane, for it labors not. It is the laborless activity of Christ in you. Quote, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts. Jeremiah 31:33. It is or it is not announces intuition. It takes nothing else into consideration but itself. Intuition would not be itself were it guided by reason, while reason will improve itself by listening to intuition. Reason, thought, and feeling are wonderful gifts of universal God to each and every individual. It is said that the bee buzzes as long as it is outside the bloom, but as soon as it settles down in the heart of the blossom, it drinks in quiet. It is similar in our thirst and effort for understanding. In proportion as we feel and understand absolute truth, we stop labored effort. Labor not, said the illumined master. Individual man, in quotes, is potentially a spiritual being, and his destined attainment is the manifestation of perfection. The soul that we are is like a circle without beginning and without end. We can neither add to it nor take from it. We recognize through illumination its completeness and immortality. New birth is the birth in consciousness of the illumined Christ. It is the spiritual birth, bringing new order, new life, new joy. All great teachers discern that we come into this new birth through inspiration, illumination, love. What is called the evolution of man is his rise in consciousness from the awareness of his individual center of light to the experience of cosmic consciousness. This illumined sense of infinity, the oneness of all, transcends the mind and lights the self. It is a soul experience in which is found no evil. Evil is but a thought creation found in the planes of thoughts and things, but evil is not present in the plane of illumined consciousness. The Master of Vision declared, "Thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven." It is possible for us here and now to experience heavenly joy, illumination, and freedom. Called into the synagogues or before magistrates, shall one reason out what he shall say in his defense? No, said the Master, take ye no thought how or what thing ye shall answer, or what ye shall say, for it shall be given you in the same hour what ye shall speak. If one is in a great danger, is it necessary that he stop and declare truth, in quotes, or give a reason to himself why he will be delivered? No, quote, I will be with thee. I will not fail thee, not forsake thee, says the all-knowing presence. If one is in prison, bound hand and foot, must he treat, in quotes, or look into books, or call upon himself to save himself? If he has been living in the spirit of illumination, facing the Most High, looking to the great Deliverer for things mighty and strong, an angel can touch him, as Peter felt, and with his senses illumined and lighted, he can step from the shackles as though they were not. Doors can spring open of their own accord. That which is considered solid can become as vapor. Such is high salvation, the salvation of high illumination. If one is in trouble, what shall he do? Shall he sit and think thoughts or read words, concentrate or use suggestions? He looks to the Most High, the real self, and it is given him what to think. The value of high recognition is that it uplifts the mind or lights up the mind, and naturally it comes in contact with cosmic harmony and order. To educate the mentality so that one can reason, analyze, and arrive at right conclusion or mental conviction of truth is one thing. But to have spiritual insight, keen awareness, faith, and illumination is another thing. The key that unlocks one realm does not unlock the other. Jesus, the highly illumined, could have called forth ministering angels from the high plane, but he chose to give his life a ransom for us. He knew the answer to the question, what is truth? And he knew the answers to the mysteries of the finished kingdom. But he often spoke in heavenly language which was not comprehended by his listeners. The mystery of love and marriage was understood by Jesus, and when he was asked about the woman who married 7 times and her future relation to the 7 men in heaven, Jesus did not reply from the plane of reason. Hence his answer is little understood. He was speaking from intuition, the plane of spirit. His answer was, in this plane of life, men marry to gratify themselves or to perpetuate the race. But in the heavenly world, men do not take upon themselves such marriage vows. In every plane of life, we find a new order, and in the heavenly plane, though man taketh not the marriage vows as here on earth, this does not annihilate love or marriage, but love and marriage are of higher order, the union of hearts, the union of that which God has forever joined together. While that which is called flesh and bones will be transmuted into an embodiment of higher order, yet we feel certain that we shall recognize and know our loved ones and enjoy the celestial glories and beauties of the new heaven and the new earth. On the Mount of Transfiguration, Jesus' face shone like the sun, and his raiment was whiter than anything the disciples had ever beheld. Still, they knew it was Jesus. What is prayer? Ask some. Prayer is meditation, and it is more than meditation. Prayer is affirmation, and it is more than affirmation. Prayer is divine illumination, high recognition and realization of the true facts of life. Ideas change, opinions change, conceptions change, prayers change. But God is the changeless I am, the unalterable absolute. This is perfect. There is a perfect, finished idea of everything in the finished kingdom. We would not recognize sickness as abnormal were it not for the true idea of health. We would not recognize death as an enemy, in quotes, were it not for the truth, the true idea of eternal life. There is but one true creation, the absolute spiritual creation, and prayer, known as desire, meditation, declaration, or command, uplifts or lifts up the individual sense to recognize and experience reality, cosmic consciousness. In the finished kingdom, the fields are already white to harvest. The future is already the now. The desire is already fulfilled. Illumination is ever present. The kingdom is on earth as it is in heaven. One can live without illumination, believing in the reality of evil. Yet this in no way interferes with perfection itself. No death will ever stop the onward moving current of life. No mistake will ever interfere with heavenly law. No wrong viewpoint will ever change the vision of life itself. No thought will ever alter that which already is. No darkness will ever touch the illumined Absolute. Prayer rises from the individual himself, and all answer to prayer comes from one source. The highest and the inmost are identical. All that we are or ever will be is within us, as above us. All mysteries, wonders, and miracles, All answers to our questions lie in the depths of our being. It is by reaching upward and outward to the great universal that the inward is quickened and illumined. All mode of mental treatment or prayer that is not based upon perfection must be superseded by a more spiritual and more illumined insight. Buds of plants and leaves of trees need air, water, light, and warmth that they burst open into maturity. It takes faith, love, trust, and right recognition that the secrets of our inner nature are disclosed to us. Illumination shows us two ways of overcoming or coming over and up to the standpoint of the Absolute. We find these two methods depicted in the two pictures of Daniel in the lion's den. In one picture, we see Daniel facing the lions. In the other picture, we see Daniel facing the light. Let us examine with illumined attention the first position, Daniel facing the lions. When difficulties confront us, do we feel like running away from them, or do we face them? To face them in the right way is to look above them and beyond them, and through illumination recognize their nothingness. A man was struggling with what seemed to him a problem of life and death. His seeming condition caused him such paroxysm of intense pain that he flung himself upon the bed and cried aloud. The thought came to him, I must be healed now or I will die. What shall I do? What shall I think? He reached out for the answer. It came from within. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Forgetting his fear and trouble for the moment, he sat upright in his chair. What was the meaning of this verse? What did this message signify? He repeated the words, in the presence of mine enemies. Was he not now in the presence of the enemy, disease, pain, death? But the promise is, thou preparest a table for me in their presence. Suddenly the hidden meaning dawned upon him. Illumination came. Right when the lions are facing us, divine refreshment, spiritual understanding is already prepared, already sufficient. He glanced at the clock. According to its account, in 5 more minutes another attack was due. He determined to live these 5 minutes facing the enemy, feeling back of him and above him the table prepared, the omnipotent truth upholding him. Placing his hands firmly on the arms of the chair, he faced the lions, the belief of pain and death, and with illumined sense he cried, Come, I am unafraid of you, for what God Almighty is greater than what you seem to be. Like an armed knight he waited, but the lions' mouths were closed. The enemy came not. Only the silence answered him, and the clock ticked on. For 1 hour he sat still, his mind a blaze of light and power. He arose well, healed of what doctors would have pronounced fatal. Gone is the darkness when light touches it. Gone are the lions when the I Am speaks its own name. We can also face the light, our back to the lions. A woman was told by doctors and nurse at her bedside that she would probably die. Symptoms were fatal. Dismissing everyone from her room, she called back one member and asked for a book that lay on the table. Alone with the book, she lay still for a few moments. Then came the thought, while I do live, I will face the light. She turned entirely away from the belief of disease and death, as though they were not present, and upward she looked, toward the light. For several moments she thought about life, how glorious to live, how wonderful is life. She noticed not the lion's death standing back of her. Presently she opened the book with the cry, "Give me one sentence to carry with me as I go on to life." The book fell open to these three words: "Life is triumphant." Like a flash of lightning, swift as the swiftest arrow, there shot into her being, like a living flame, the illumination. Quote, "Then I cannot die." Instantly, the phantom death vanished. She arose from her bed, whole and well. We victoriously face the lions, knowing their nothingness and feeling our heavenly dominion. We lovingly face the light, feeling its allness, which knows no evil. It takes tremendous courage to face lions, feeling our greatness and their nothingness. It takes illumined faith and transcendent trust to face the light, paying no attention to the lions that roar behind us. God is that which is back of us. God is that which is before us. I am the first and I am the last. He who illuminates his mind with recognition and contemplation of heavenly things has entered a new order. He who places the inner eye toward the finished kingdom has entered a new freedom. He who feels the oneness of all lives, the omnipresence of all love and harmony, has entered a new peace and illumination. Ever illumined life calls to us, quote, "Look unto me, love me, praise me, glorify me, commend me. Nothing shall be impossible to you, for my omnipotence is your omnipotence. My illumination is your illumination." Why stay in the valley when heights are calling us? Why stay in darkness when the light is overshining us? Why labor with thought and things while angels stand ready to deliver us? Looking away from graves and tombstones, away from the end of the world, away from strife and war, away from evil, we see as God sees. We judge as God judges. What is the judgment of the I am? Quote, "And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good." That which was is, and that which is has already been. Come, ye blessed, look above things, above thoughts, above the faces of angels, friends, powers, forces. Disciple of truth, consider this good and right and true manifestation of my love and my omnipotence. But let not thy gaze rest here as salvation. Look to me, the giver of gifts, the origin of intelligence, the absolute self-existent first. Let us be up and doing. Let us keep our minds quickened and illumined with divine inspiration, remembering that Spirit is the real and eternal. One may be able, with individual power of individual mind, to do great things, but the way that leads to eternal salvation is not one of laborious action. It is a narrow way, lying among rocks and pitfalls, yet in the path itself is no pitfall. In this path we hear the words, quote, labor not, take no thought, in such an hour as ye think not. The recognition of the finished kingdom proceeds from inner illumination. The King of the heavenly kingdom is love. It is through divine love that we recognize, realize, and manifest the wonders which are already prepared for us. Quote, for since the beginning of the world, man have not heard, nor perceived by the ear, neither has the eye seen, what he has prepared for him that waits for him. Isaiah 64:4. Quote, come, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world.